Welcome back to the Lexi's Leukemia channel. Today we're prepping for Thanksgiving dinner.
Well, good morning. We have to get ready for Thanksgiving, which is tomorrow. And so before I work this afternoon at 4 o'clock, crazy holiday retail, we've got to prep all of the sides. But first things first, we need some breakfast. So we're going to make some blueberry muffins first. That way we have ourselves some breakfast. And Mama needs some coffee.
Yeah.
You ready to help me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now that we've got the muffins in the oven, it's time to get dressed and ready to do our cooking today, right? Let's do it. Well, that's better. Now we're all dressed and ready to tackle the day, Lexi.
Yeah.
So let's go get our muffins out of the oven. Mama needs some coffee. And we'll get started cooking. Well, we got our aprons on. Lexi's on her little stool. She's tall enough this year. We don't need a chair, you big first grader. And we're ready to start cooking. So it's actually the day before Thanksgiving, and I try to prep what I can ahead. So one of the things I'm responsible for is dessert, and so I think I've shown you in a video how to make my grandma's pumpkin pie before. So I'm just going to show you the pie crust today, and then there's another video, I think I can link it up there, of making my grandma's pumpkin pie. But this is my old trusty dusty recipe box. I got this back when I was in college. I've always loved to cook and bake, and I like passing down family recipe traditions. So this is my recipe box. It has everything in it, and extra cards. And so anytime I find a recipe that I like, it goes in here, or a family recipe. So we are going to make pie crust. Now, if you're my mom, you make pie crust with Crisco. We do not do that. We just use butter at our house. So all you need to make pie crust is your fat, which in our case is a whole cup of butter, which is 2 sticks. You also need flour. You need a little bit of salt. I'm using salted butter. So I'm not going to use this whole teaspoon of salt because the butter is already salted. I'm going to cut down to half a teaspoon. But you could use unsalted butter and then use the entire teaspoon of salt. And then you also need some ice water. So I'm going to see if I can put the camera down, and Lexi is going to help me do all of this. Okay?
Yeah.
You excited?
Yeah.
All right, Lexi, so the first thing we have to do is measure out 2.5 cups of flour.
Yeah.
So you're going to measure out 1 of these.
Okay.
And then you're going to help me lift that up, just carefully. Oh, hold it over. And then we're going to use this knife to level it off, see? So you just get 1 cup, and then you're going to dump that 1 cup in the bowl. Dump the whole thing in there. Oh, hold over the bowl. Very good. Now we need 1 more of those.
Okay, gotta scoop it. Gotta just get some.
Oh, okay. Might need a little bit more. Scoop up a little more.
Just take this.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
There you go. Hold it up so I can level it off. All right. Dump it in there.
Down.
All right. Now you're going to do That's a half cup measure.
So we just need
It's
one?
1 scoop for 2.5 cups.
I think we need more.
Yeah, here. Scooch down a little more. All right, now you hold it. Dump it in there.
Dump.
Very good. Now, you want to hold this? Now remember, we're not using the whole teaspoon because we're using salted butter. So dump that in there. And then we'll just use this to kind of mix that salt in together. And then what we're gonna do is add in our cold diced butter. I left this in the refrigerator until I had everything assembled. You want your butter to be nice and cold.
It's kind of stuck to the bottom.
All right, now what we're gonna do is take this pastry blender and we're gonna blend up the fat and the flour together. You're gonna you're gonna get yourself a workout. Now that we have the butter into like little pea-sized floury balls, that's what you want. And we are going to take and add cold water, a tablespoon at a time, until you just form a really loose, shaggy dough. And then you're literally gonna wrap it up in plastic wrap and you will put it in the fridge to chill until you're ready to make the actual pie. So, go ahead and dump that in there. Now start stirring. We just want a loose, shaggy dough.
Mix it. All the extras down.
And this is a 1/2 cup of ice water. You may not need the whole 1/2 cup. So that's why you just add a tablespoon at a time until it just comes together. Let me see how it's doing. Okay, we need a little more, don't we?
Yeah. Still kind of floury.
All right, go ahead and stir some more.
Okay. Oh yeah, I can see it dissolving.
See how it's kind of starting to get a little shaggy now around the edges? Some of it's starting to stick together, see? Okay, let me add some more.
Yeah, it's starting to stick.
And that's why you want the cold butter, because when you're working the fat into the flour and stirring everything around, the butter's gonna get kind of soft again. So then when you put it in the fridge, that butter gets nice and hard and cold again. So when you roll out the dough, you're gonna have these pockets of butter that steam up and make you a nice flaky crust. It's gonna be delicious.
I'm just mixing.
All right, one more and then let's see where we're at. Let's see. So now that we've got a shaggy dough formed, as you can see, it's trying to clump together like this. We've added enough water. Then you are going to take your saran wrap and just place it on the counter. And then this dough is going to go in the center of it. Try to scoop up as much of the dough as you can into the center of the saran wrap, right, Lex?
Yeah.
Okay. And then whatever you got left over, mush together with your fingers, and we'll just add it to the center here. Make yourself a little hole in the center.
Make a little hole right there. We made a hole right there.
Perfect. So now we're going to form it into a little disc, right? Like a little ball of dough.
Yeah.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Help me fold this over.
Yeah.
All right, so fold this one side over.
Then we gotta fold this side. And then we gotta fold in the side.
Fold up the sides, yep. And then there you have it. A little ball of dough. And then once it's in the saran wrap, you can kind of, you can make it into the shape you need. Silly. All right. I think we are good. So now we're gonna let this rest in the fridge. You want it to harden back up, all that butter. So there you go. So while we have our pie dough chilling, we can do all the other things we need to do. So I like to make the mix for the green bean casserole ahead and do everything except add the onions in and just leave it in a bowl in the fridge. And then tomorrow I'll let it come to room temperature, stir in the fried onions, and then bake it. So it makes prep a lot easier. I just use the recipe on the back of the fried onions because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Could we use a healthier recipe? Well, sure, but everyone grows up with their favorite things, and at the holidays, you can indulge, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing we're gonna do, Lexi, is make our green bean casserole mix.
Yeah.
So basically, it's just green beans, cream of mushroom soup, pepper, and a little milk, and we double the recipe on the back. So here we go. Time to put this in the fridge and get started on the filling for the pumpkin pie. So we are going to make the pie filling, and I know I've shown you this before. The only difference compared to last time is now Lexi can crack eggs all by herself, so she wanted to show you how she could do it. No, you're gonna crack them into this bowl because we have to beat them together really good.
That good?
Yeah. Good job. Very good.
Now we're gonna crack another one. Is there any extra spice in there?
Yeah, I think it's just brown sugar from my fingers. You're good.
Okay. That good?
Yeah. Great job, Lexi. That's awesome. So my grandma's pumpkin pie recipe, remember the one I told you comes from Kroger years ago. Just don't touch it. It takes 2 eggs well beaten, 3/4 a cup of brown sugar. Cover your mouth. Can you tell we're sick in this household? We've been washing our hands a lot. Why don't you go wash your hands?
Okay.
You need 1/4 or 1/2 plus 1/8 a cup of milk, a whole can of pumpkin, and you need a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then, of course, you gotta have the blackstrap cooking molasses. Like a whole tablespoon of that. It's gross, but it makes the pie. So we're just gonna do a little montage of this because you've seen us make this before. Lexi did this. Look at that. You did a great job, Lexi. You're getting better and better. So that is our pie filling. So it's ready for whenever we are ready to roll out the crust. So we're gonna get ready to roll out the crust, and then we're gonna move on to our next item. Time to roll out our pie dough. Forgot to tell you that crust makes a double crust. If you're needing to make a double crust pie, which I was not, but I do like to have a little extra. Had I been paying attention, I would have cut that down. On the back, I have it cut down for if you need one, if you don't want to do quick math. So last but not least, for prep for tomorrow, we are making the dumplings.
Yeah.
Can't remember if I've showed you this before, but it's an easy recipe. It is my great-grandma Ritter's dumpling recipe. So that's what we are going to do. So I will tell you what her recipe is, and then I'll tell you that I double this recipe because this recipe just serves 4 people. This is kind of like the dumplings that you would have in chicken and dumplings, except for it's without the chicken. I know it's weird, but it's just what they ate back then, dumplings. I don't know, and we've just always made it. So it's 2 cups of flour sifted, a teaspoon of salt, and 2 teaspoons of baking powder. So sift all that together, and then you need a half a stick of butter melted, and you add that into your dry ingredients. And then after you have the butter well incorporated, then you add a half a cup of milk last, because you don't want the cold milk to seize up your butter. Because you have the baking powder in this, so you do not need clumps of butter in it like pie dough, because you have the baking powder. And then you roll them out to 1/4 inch or less, like roll out the dough. And I just use a pizza cutter and just cut like strips, and then take a knife and just go boom, boom, boom. And you can cut them however you like. If you like squares, if you like thin strips, whatever. I usually just do thin strips. But you want to make sure you roll out the dough thin enough, because they're gonna puff up, and if they're too thick in the middle, they'll be doughy when you're all done. So then you just heat up some chicken broth, whatever kind of chicken or turkey stock or broth you have, and then you get that to boiling and put in your dumplings, and when they float to the top, they're nice and light, they're done once they're cooked. Usually, depending upon how full it is, takes half an hour to 45 minutes. So I'm making a double batch and doing it in the crock pot to stay warm. So that's all she wrote. So I'm gonna finish rolling out these dumplings. I got a lot of dumpling dough to roll out. Lexi's hands are getting tired, so arms, legs, she can't stand for super long periods of time in one spot. So I'm gonna finish getting this rolled out, and then we will see you tomorrow for Thanksgiving dinner. Well, we were cooking all yesterday, and it's the new day now, and we've got everything going. I've got my dumplings over there in the crock pot on warm. This is the pan they were in. I want to show you this. You boil the chicken broth, and then you add in your dumplings bit by bit. You don't want to overcrowd the pan until they're all in there, but you need to stir it a lot, because if you don't, the dumplings that are underneath will get pushed and forced to the bottom, and they will settle on the bottom, and they will get crushed over there like that. So that's why that's all the more I have stuck to the bottom of my pan, because I stir constantly, you know, that way we don't have any issues. And once they were all floating to the top, and you can want to make sure it's not super chewy and doughy in the middle, then you're good to go. And then I just put them in the crock pot on warm to keep warm until it's time. And I've got my potatoes I just turned off, have been boiling. I diced mine up super fine, small little cubes. And then I have a food mill, and I also have a ricer. I have used both in the past. I prefer this because it's a little smaller. It gives you a hand workout. But the food mill kind of, you have to like continuously go and go and go. And it's not worth it to me. So, and it's a bear to clean. And the rice are so much easier. So I just make my potatoes. These are just regular russet potatoes. I don't know. I grew up on a farm, so we just use whatever we can get in the 10-pound bag. And then I heat up heavy cream and a whole stick of butter. So I get one of the tall like quart things of heavy cream, and I do equal parts butter and cream in a saucepan and heat them up till they're warm. And then I use my stand mixer to whip some air into the potatoes and make sure they're nice and fluffy. And then that's what I do for my mashed potatoes. So we are gonna finish. We just got to add the fried onions to the green beans and then get those in the oven. And I've got to start ricing all the potatoes. Lexi's gonna help me with that. So we will come back to you when we've got everything done. The pumpkin pie's in the fridge. We're almost set. It is Thanksgiving Day and we're just moving and grooving, aren't we?
Yeah!
All right, so we'll be back in a little bit with all our finished product. We don't want to take this video too long. Well, the meal is all cooked. We're getting ready to head out the door to my father-in-law's house. We've got the green bean casserole done. Lexi helped me top it with the last of the fried onions. Getting ready to put that in the carry-all. My mashed potatoes are in there. They're all done. They've been in the oven keeping warm. I ran out of outlets because our house is really old, so my dumplings, which I actually need to unplug right now, are down here. And they're in there, and you can see them, and they look delicious. And then here is my pumpkin pie. All right, so come here, Lex. And show everybody what your shirt says.
Extra thankful this year.
That's right. Why are we thankful at Thanksgiving time? What's the biggest reason we're thankful?
Because of Jesus?
Yeah? What did Jesus do for you? Did he make you well again?
Yeah.
So are we thankful that you don't have cancer anymore?
Yeah.
We are, aren't we?
Yeah.
So we just want to say from our family to yours, we hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving.